swanking away like that. We're having fun, but I wanted to make sure you're the last guy because the last and the first guy, because my friends, Papa Stash in the house, Brett Papa. If you guys do not know who this guy is, he is an amazing dude, amazing teacher, amazing player, obviously.
Thanks, man.
And you need to check him out, brettpapa.com. And he's an amazing dude. So,
right back
dude,
at you.
Thank you so much for being here today.
I'm honored.
So we had it in the schedule for Brett to be here tomorrow, but he's in town, and he called me up this morning. He said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm going live." I said, "Come on down, please." And he came on down, and this is it. We're going to be taking questions today, and this is what I would advise you to do today. Few things. Since Brett isn't with us very often, I would suggest having a lot of questions for him, okay? And I'll be fielding the questions, but if you have any questions for me, then I'll take those. But take advantage of Brett right now. He's a wealth of information, blues guitar, country guitar, rock guitar, you name it. He knows how to do it. He knows how to do all the major blues stuff, all the Hendrix stuff. Great player, knows how to noodle, obviously. And what we're going to be talking about today, Brett, is why it is that some guitar players, I'm going to have to get the exact title here because, honestly, why some guitar players progress faster than others, right? Mm-hmm. So let's do this. I want to ask you some questions. We'll start off with that, if that's cool. And guys, this is totally unscripted, obviously. We had no idea. Oh, Before we go into the questions, you mind if I pitch something real quick? First off, brettpapa.com. Make sure you go there, check Brett out. Beast player. What else? You have any new products out right now?
I do have a caged product that's
it's like soloing caged?
Yeah, it's all about how to see the fretboard and how to make soloing easier because you're able to fuse chords and scales together. So it teaches you the right notes to hit over chord progressions.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Sweet. And where can they find that?
BrettPapa.com.
Sweet.
Yeah.
And the YouTube channel is Brett Papa 102.
Papa Stash 102, but it might be changing. But for now, it is Papa Stash 102.
Papa Stash. You got a lot of them out there.
I do.
You're just like
the only place I'm at these days. But yeah, I think I'm changing it here in about a couple weeks.
Cool.
Yeah. So it'll all be congruent.
Like a
Brett
new name?
Papa. Yeah. It's just gonna be my name.
You want to take the mustache off, don't you?
My wife's been asking for years. Nah, it's time.
Just brettbeard.com.
Yeah, exactly. Beard.com.
It's just going to have the beard and no mustache.
Beard guitar. Yeah. Beardedguitarplayer.com.
All right. So, so first things first. So make sure you go to brettpapa.com. And here's the deal. We're doing a giveaway, as we always do, right? Lifetime membership to the Unstoppable Guitar System /365. Here's what you got to do. You know, we're always switching it around. We got to switch it around with the kids, right?
Keep it exciting.
Otherwise, they go, I'm not on Facebook. I'm not on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to change it up. So this is the deal. It's for Instagram folks. If you're on Instagram, which you guys are, this is the deal. See that? Right. I always get mixed up with the camera, but this case here, it's right over by Papa.
Right.
That dude right there, that's what I want you to do. You can leave a comment on that. And two things you got to do. You got to be following Instagram. This is total manipulation, by the way.
Okay.
You know that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I do.
It's total marketing manipulation.
No,
You've got to be following.
You're offering a great service.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to leave a comment right on that post. We're also going to be doing another post tomorrow, so you can leave a comment on that. It's basically going to be 2 chances to win. You have to be following. You have to leave a comment. But it's literally that friggin' easy. Okay?
That's a hard word, huh?
It is so
I have
hard
a hard
to
time
say.
with that one too.
Good.
Literally.
Literally.
You know what's a good one? Proper copper coffee pot.
Oh, I'm not even gonna. You obviously can see I can't play guitar. I'm not gonna try to say that.
Yeah.
I like when people say supposedly.
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 Yeah.
It's not supposedly.
A whole lot of stuff.
Whole lot of love.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
come on.
That should be fine.
Right. Yeah.
Right? It's legit.
Or whole nother.
Whole nother. You're gonna hear a lot of that here in the South.
It's a whole nother ball of wax.
Yeah. So do that. So go to Instagram. Do that right now. Also share this, please. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about why some guitar players progress faster than others. I've got some killer new information I want to share with you. Okay. We haven't talked since he's been in town. So
I'm ready.
Some killer information that I'm doing some videos on YouTube, and but I want to ask you because I'm interested to see just what you've discovered over time. And what your intuition says and everything else, because it's so funny. I teach this. I've been teaching this sort of thing for a long time, and I'm finding the science for it now through certain books that I've been reading. And nonetheless, what do you think? Why is it that some guitar players progress faster than others? Beyond the obvious of like some guys practice, some people don't.
Yeah, some people just they have it's like any profession or trade, or anything that you do. Some people can draw really good. Some naturally draw really good. Some people have an ear. I have friends that have perfect pitch, and it's like, how is that even possible, right? So some people are.
Do you think perfect pitch is important?
No, I don't. Because through time, you develop close enough, right? I mean, we could probably sit down and listen to just about any song we wanted to and figure it out eventually, right?
Yeah.
But, I've had a lot of really naturally gifted students come in. And I'll say, from my personal experience, the ones who aren't gifted but work really hard are the ones who usually end up being really, really good players.
And that's one of the things that these books are talking about, the science of saying, is because, and that's also why they tell you to tell your kid, I'm proud of you for doing hard work instead of you're smart, because if not, then they just think it comes to them.
Oh,
and then those kids get lazy, or kids. What we mean by kids, adults, right? I know. I don't tell my kid he's smart anymore.
Yeah.
I say you're stupid.
Yeah,
You're dumb.
Listen more.
Work harder.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I say, I'm so proud of the work that you're doing. You're working hard.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and it makes sense, because if you think about like just weightlifting or exercise, you don't get stronger and bigger muscles by sitting on the couch, right?
Yeah.
It's that hard work and challenging your body and it kind of almost going against what you want to do sometimes ends up making you harder or better. And if you think about it, lots of really good players have come from really, hardships in life. Like Christina Aguilera, I watched her story the other day or whatever, and just a horrible childhood, and singing was like an outlet.
Wow.
And so they channel in, everything in it, or Eddie Van Halen would talk about that too with his dad, that, his dad was cool, but very like, rigid, and really made them practice, and it made him become a really good player, because I think he'd only been playing guitar about like 6 years.
Yeah, and playing drums before that.
Yeah. Right? And so I think a lot of times challenge and people that are able to connect on a emotional level with their guitar earlier end up really doing good, because it's that real, all the guitar players that we like through history, you can feel they're playing. And so I think that's a huge part of it, is when people are able to connect emotionally and really put their feel into their playing,
Yeah.
And I think that, overshadows technique a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you have any students that were that have perfect pitch?
I had some that were pretty close, but I've been around enough, lesson circles that I've seen it with kids, and it's like you can go to the piano and hit a key, and they're like, that's blah blah blah, and you're just like, really?
Yeah. I've had 2 students that had perfect pitch, and one specifically just absolutely sucked.
Yeah.
And could just never practice.
Yeah.
He was autistic also.
Yeah.
So his attention span was a little
challenge there.
Yeah. But the perfect pitch didn't help him.
Yeah.
But he would tell me all the time when my B string was out.
That is hilarious. No way.
All the time he goes,
definitely out.
I'm like, don't worry about my B string.
Yeah, right.
Practice. It's like just a little bit out, I'm
hilarious.
like, dude, we just gotta like practice.
Yeah.
Like, come on, let's get into this, man.
Yeah, and it has to come from a level of enjoyment too, because I remember when I first started playing, my teacher was trying to teach me Beatles songs, and I just was not a Beatles fan as a kid. Yeah. And when he showed me the intro to Crazy Train, it was like, whoosh, off to the races.
Yeah,
he couldn't keep it out of my hands.
That's constantly what I tell my students is like, it's got to be fun. Like the whole reason you're not coming to the guitar because you're like, let's see, I just worked out. What other thing can I do that's, unless you love working out, which I love working out now. But like,
you're an animal now.
When you just start working on when you just start working out, you're just like, right? Yeah. Like, but I always tell my students if they're not having fun, like you've got to have some fun.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I'm finding through some of these books that I'm reading is that it has everything to do with constantly pushing your edge, what they call the edge, right? And I think some folks who just naturally get this, and I think this is the difference where people talk about talent. I think what they're talking about is this aptitude to push against what's not comfortable, to push against to get out of their comfort zone. Because I've seen that. I've seen people who are just naturally just kind of lazy. I mean, for all intents and purposes, or for lack of better words, they're just lazy at everything that they do. And because of that, it just shows up in all those areas of their life. And then I see other people who, like, everything that they do, they're trying to just push themselves and better themselves at the gym, guitar, their job, whatever it is. And they're saying now that it has everything to do with that, and that actually when you're pushing yourself, like if let's say you're playing scales, and you can, you're setting the metronome at 100, you're playing through your scales, and that's very comfortable for you. And then maybe like 110 is where you start kind of making some mistakes every now and then, right? But to where it's starting to be challenging now. They say that if you go beyond it to where it's just uncomfortable and you're getting frustrated and everything, that's a bad place to be. They call that like the suicide zone or something like that. But there's what they call the edge, which is right there where you're constantly being challenged, where you really have to pay attention. And they say that when you're in that zone, you literally build myelin. Have you ever heard that?
Yeah.
It's crazy. So myelin is this stuff that wraps around the synapses in your brain, and basically it acts just like any insulation would in a wire. So like if you buy a $50 Mogami cable, it's because it's wrapped really well, and you're not going to hear it. That's why it costs so much, but that's also why the signal's so good, is because it's wrapped it's insulated really well. And so basically synapses in your brain are the same way. So if you practice a scale,
check you out. You're like ready for some police or something.
What's going on there? So you're practicing your scales over and over and over again. Then what happens is you're literally, each time that you do it, you're signaling the brain to build this myelin, which then, that's why when you watch somebody like Stevie Ray Vaughan or Yngwie Malmsteen or something, and they just seem just
superhuman,
godlike, and they seem to do it without thinking, it's because they've done it so many times, and they just keep pushing the edge. So anybody out there, if you're really stuck with where you're at and you want to progress, whether you're a beginner, I mean, beginners don't have so much of a hard time because everything's new and you're always pushing yourself then, right? But what happens, and this, man, I see this with almost every comment that comes in my course, is that people go, man, I've been playing for 20 years, 30 years, and I haven't gotten better since like the second year I was playing, right? Do you see that all the time?
Yeah.
All the time. And it's because we get into a comfort zone. And we do this in life and all sorts of things. So the only thing I can say is the number one thing you can do to get better at anything, it doesn't matter, guitar, working out, whatever, is find out where you're comfortable, get the hell out of there, and do something that makes you feel uncomfortable. Not so much that you're freaking out, that you want to put the guitar down or stop lifting weights, but you don't go to the gym and say, cool, 500 pounds, gonna do it.
Watch out.
Yeah, watch out. And so why would you be able to do that on the guitar?
No, that makes sense. And, myself, my first inclination is just to noodle all day, you know, because that's all I've done. I wanted to be a shredder when I was a kid.
Right.
And now...
And what do you mean by noodle?
Like I would just scales and, as fast as I could play, and I just wanted to be a fast...
Scales, riffs, too?
Yeah, I've always been like, I have a pretty short attention span, so I've always been like, learn 65% of the song and move on, until I started doing this, right? But what makes a difference is I found, like, get into the creative zone, and what I do to challenge myself more than anything is I'm working backwards. Like, I'll put on a drum loop and I'll literally try to play like, that kind of a thing, and just work with those three notes. And it's like, how much feel can I put into that? Or what notes can I let ring out? Or, that kind of thing where you're starting to create music, what I mean? And actually there's melody going on, and it starts to train your brain to hear other things, or where chords should go, or, taking a simple chord progression and creating. I think that's, that's all of our guitar heroes were on a creative pursuit. You know what I mean? They were always challenging themselves to try to create and compose. And I think that's, I think a lot of people compare themselves technically to what other guitar players can do, and some people just aren't ever going to be fast.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean you can't be really good.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Mark Knopfler or Gilmore or any of these guys that don't play fast, but there's like, they can play 10 notes and it's just like, you remember that for your whole life.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I think if you enjoy guitar and you like playing guitar, try going down the creative pursuit and not just playing scales all day, because it's the same as doing math homework all day long. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, at some point, what's the math going to do? Am I going to build something, or am I, there's got to be a purpose for it,
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah,
indeed.
And so,
yeah, that's that's something I'm trying to do now is really get for a long time here, of course, because of teaching and everything else. It's like I'm so focused on teaching. I'm so focused on getting out what's in me to give that I don't put it back into me. So now what I've been doing is in the mornings. Is that me? That's probably me. I noticed that we didn't even have the track on there. So for those of you that didn't hear me or the track, I apologize. But that's probably for the better anyhow. But I didn't even have the track on, so hopefully they heard something. But yeah, so what I'm doing now in the morning is I'll just do 1 hour of literally technique.
Yeah.
And then try to do some sort of improvisation or something like that during the day, because you're right, because at the end of the day it's like it's all about being creative. Gilmore, you mentioned, he's not a fast player. I've never heard him play anything fast.
No, he can't. He admits he cannot play fast.
And I don't know why we would want him to.
Yeah.
He does what he wants to do, and it sounds amazing, and there's no like, God, I wish he'd play faster.
Yeah.
I've never been that way.
Right.
It's all about melody and feel.
And it makes sense. Like even Eddie, they're thoroughly trained in classical music, and a lot of classical music's pretty up tempo. So like him as a player, you mix classical with boogie, and it's like it makes sense. He plays quick. He plays like these, kind of classically inspired and blues based licks. You know, and it's cool to really take the influence of somebody's playing, but man, I mean, we all have this ability to create as humans, and it's like, I think that I've found more than anything, just like with the courses I've come out with like Caged or whatever, I found that breaks through with people more than anything, because you're truly showing them how to create something. Yeah. It's like, this scale you've been playing your whole life, it's just a scale, you know, but when it starts to make sense, like here's your, A minor chord in that scale, and now you have some sort of, reference point to like, the chord's right there.
Yeah.
Right? And you can just play with those notes. Right? And all I've done is I've taken that scale that we've all played a million times, but suddenly, since I'm paying attention to the actual notes of the chords that I'm playing to, it's easy to create a melody, right? Because if you have you have the chord here and you have the chord here. Yeah. You can... Right? Now suddenly that blues lick makes sense because everyone's playing over that one chord. Exactly. You hear Stevie Ray... Yeah. Well, he's played all three notes of the chord. Exactly. You know what I mean? And so it's... But
it doesn't sound like it. He's not just arpeggiating, through the...
Yeah, and when people get frustrated, it's because their playing sounds like a scale. And it doesn't sound like music. Exactly. And don't be afraid to...
Gotta bend that
just a little bit, or instead of going... Yeah. Right? Anybody, even if it's your first time on guitar, you could probably do that. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So instead of trying to get through that scale as fast as you can, see if you can take those same two notes. Yeah. Give them some. And suddenly it has way more feel. So I like to tell people to slow down and feel what you're playing, because then you have a connection. Yes. Like that's when the bond between you and your instrument or something really starts to build, is when the emotions come in. Exactly. Because it's the merging of everything.
Yeah. As like a carpenter with it, I say, it's like going out and getting a hammer and then being like, cool, got my hammer. Yeah. Well, it's just the hammer. It's like a scale, it's not really going to do anything. Yeah. You want to take some questions?
Sure, man.
Dude, I love that. I love your insight, and I love your feel, because you've got a great feel for stuff, and so you get it.
Well, and it's funny is we jam and stuff like this, and you talk about being uncomfortable. Playing blues progressions like that is like literally the most uncomfortable thing for me to play.
Yeah.
Like I just.
What makes you most comfortable?
I like creating stuff.
Yeah.
Like when I create courses and stuff
Dude,
like that.
I suck at improvisation too. This is why, and here in Nashville, it's like that's what people rate you on is how good do you improvise.
Right.
I'll play.
You can't use Nashville
from
as
the '80s, right? But for as far as improvisation, I'm a child. I'm a baby.
Look at like Randy Rhoads and people. I mean, that's all about creating those. Yeah. I guarantee you, very few of those even perceived improvised solos were improvised.
No.
And a lot of those guys from the 80s, too, that we think are, which are extraordinary players and think, man, they can just rip.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I mean, sometimes you can't get them. Like, take Van Halen. He's by far one of my favorite guitar players of all time. But you take him out of Van Halen and put him in a different situation, and in about 5 minutes, he's played every lick he has. But you put him into Eddie the composer, and he can create. I mean, look at how many amazing songs and solos. It's because it was a composition. It was a whole picture.
Exactly. Yeah, I feel so naked when I'm just literally just improvising. Like back in the day when I was, a teen, and I was playing, it was all about creating, all about recording, and then stuff just flowed out of me, and it sounded amazing. And now I don't really do that anymore. Now it's more just like improvisation and that sort of thing. And it's not at the same level as when you sit there and you compose a solo and you're like, okay, well that's an A minor chord, so I could do this A minor arpeggio and then this lick going up, and you have a moment to think about it and you try it. Sounds good. Doesn't sound good. Change it around. You know? So. Sweet. Okay, let's do this. We're gonna jump over to Facebook first. We're gonna get to some questions there. Look at those guys.
Look so serious.
They look so
Eric,
serious.
Tell me about
Dear
your mother.
Lord. Okay, so let's get to some questions here. And like I say, take advantage of Papa. He's here. He knows stuff. Amazing player, right?
See, that's what I'll do all day.
I love it. Do you have any key blues scales or exercises relating to blues that you recommend as a daily practice? Do you want to say?
99.99999% of my playing is pentatonic scale, and I swear when I've got the happiest with my playing is when I learned how to mix major and minor together.
Me too, yeah.
And so
and I'm just a baby at that.
Yeah, an easy please. Yeah. An easy way to do that is to take like A minor position 1 and then it's the same scale in A major, right? Same shape, I should say. So what you do is you take position 1 in A minor, and then you take position 2 of A major and put it inside of that. And so suddenly you have, if you add the blues note.
And do you think about all those notes as permissible when you're playing?
It depends on like if you're doing like Black Crowes kind of. That sort of a vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's easy to do that. You can't, if it's in like a minor progression, it's tough to get away with the major notes.
Yeah, you can't do
But
it,
you can add like the blues note.
Yeah.
And I'll do.
But I mean, like in one specific lick, because when I'm thinking like what you're doing there, and I'm young to this, because like for me, and you're gonna see a lot of these videos coming out here soon. For me, is that is major blues stuff, because I'm literally just like. Oh man, like the light went on for me. I mean, I've obviously known about it forever. I could teach it, but to actually play it is a whole nother thing.
Major blues will get you better than anything.
Yeah,
because you have to be melodic.
You have to
play.
think.
Yeah, you have to.
You got to be thinking about the chord. And this is what I just did a video on. Why it was basically why many rock players can't play the blues.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is legitimate blues. It's because we were listening to Zeppelin.
Yeah.
We were listening to Ozzy.
Yeah.
Van Halen.
Yeah.
And all those guys were using the minor blues every single time. They weren't using major blues.
Yeah, until you get to like Allman Brothers and people like that.
Yeah, Southern rock they were using it. And country.
Yeah.
Country players know how to do that all day long, right?
Country players are the best.
I know. I hate them.
They got it all.
I know.
You're staying at Guthrie's house and you listen to them like warm up and just play, and it's like, dude.
Oh my God.
He's such a beast,
He's a
dude.
beast. He is
He
a beast.
really can it's funny because people are legitimately intimidated to play around him because you watch somebody that has such a command over the fretboard.
Yeah.
And it's a trip, but he's a perfect example. That dude has probably practiced 100,000 hours in his life. You know what I mean? And
you don't trip into that.
no,
success.
literally has been playing every day, all day long since I think he was 8 or 9.
Oh wow.
That's all he's ever done.
Yeah.
Never had a job.
Yeah.
He's been making money playing music since he was 12.
This is Trap?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Guthrie
so-
Trap. If you guys don't know who
If
this
you don't,
guy is,
yeah.
TRAPP.
Ridiculous.
Seems like a super sweet guy.
Oh,
I've
he's
talked to
amazing.
him.
Freaking love
I've talked to
Guthrie.
him once.
Yeah.
He played guitar for a friend of mine's band, and he seems like a real sweet guy.
Oh, he's amazing.
Guy is just a beast player, man.
Yeah.
Check him out. Guthrie Trap.
If you go to my YouTube channel, I've done some sections on him where he teaches how he sees the fretboard, and just fuses it all together. He has it all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but again, it's watching somebody like that doing playing major stuff. Where you start to mix in Mixolydian with the blues scales and you mix in arpeggios, and it's like the level of sophistication is amazing. But you have to start simple. Like the major. Again, it's spotting where the chords are in your scales, because when we go from rock, basically minor playing, the licks don't resolve like you want them to.
Yeah.
And so you have to learn, in A minor, this works. Right? Or right? All those licks work, but if you played A major, right? Just an A major chord, and I try to do my rock licks, right? It doesn't work.
No.
And the reason it doesn't work is because the chord's in a new spot, right? And so if I practice knowing that here's my A major pentatonic scale, and now the notes I need to focus on are here and here, right? Or there's my A chord right there. I'm a little out of tune, but play the A chord.
Yep. That's the thing that threw me off every time, because you get to noodling around with the minor, and you're like, okay, well, there's the one, there's the one, there's the one, and then you start bending notes. All the bends don't sound right, and then you try to resolve it, and you're like, well, crap, it doesn't sound good.
Well, and it goes back to the synapse talk you were talking about. You have to build new
synapses,
lick pathways.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
And another trick to do is, if you're used to minor blues playing, if you're a rock player, stop doing it. Just completely stop doing it, because it's a crutch. And when you're doing it, it's your comfort zone. So get the hell out of your comfort zone and just start slow and play some major blues licks. There's a gazillion of them on YouTube.
Yeah, and if you if you're a rock guy and you want to start breaking into how to play major, do a blues rock progression like. Right, super. Can you play that real quick? So it's super rock, right? And so it's just learning, okay, now I gotta really focus on, here's my A chord. Cool. And then you got the G to the D. Well, here's, there's a D chord. Oh, cool. And then that resolves back to A. Right? And then that bend right there's my G chord. Right? And then... Right, and so it's it's not noodling anymore. Now it's creating actual melody,
Yeah.
and major forces you to do that more than anything.
100%.
And so, you know, then it's easy to get the Mixolydian kind of scales in there, you know, where it's that same kind of thing where it's, let's see, and I have my little tricks for figuring out Mixolydian, but you start to be able to... You can start mixing those scales together, and it gives you like a whole new way to get out of a rut. But really challenge yourself and focus on really creating something, and that gets you better than anything. Remember, all these musicians that we love and do, they create. That's what they do, and that's why the music is so amazing.
Yeah, 100%. And take these licks slow. So if you're gonna be, you know, if you're going to be practicing the blues, if you're going to be working on licks and what have you, take them nice and slow so that you really understand what's happening. And then when you speed it up, everything will be cool, you know. But if you don't know it slow, fast isn't going to obviously fix it. It
ain't going to go if you
don't
know
it
it
slow. You're
slow.
going to put more crap notes. What is that?
It ain't going to go if you don't do it slow. That's right.
Yeah. Okay, so taking more questions here on...
Sorry, I've been rambling. It's the coffee.
That's right. You got double, triple espresso there.
That's right. I've had 2, and I'm flying.
Espresso. See, that's another one.
Plus,
espresso.
I had some.
People say espresso.
Espresso.
Espresso. Well, that's the way it's spelled, right?
Yeah.
Espresso.
Yeah.
Right. But people say espresso.
That's right. They do, huh?
Yeah.
Look at you,
It's
paying
not-
attention
it's
to
not
everything
right.
now.
It's not. I'm just so judgmental.
You're like a ninja now. Just like your brain is.
It's a
catching
Gibson
it all.
special. It is.
So good.
It's
This
a
guy's got
P90.
ridiculous guitars.
No zero nut though.
What's a zero nut?
Zero nut like this guy here. I'm sorry, zero fret. Zero
Oh,
fret,
you get like
zero
it's like the
fret,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
Dude, how's the dark fire Les Paul?
I'm gonna give that away.
Dude,
I'm gonna give that away
thing
soon.
just looks like it should be
I
playing
know, right?
Disturbed or
It
something.
really, it plays like a race car.
Well, and with the P90 and a humbucker,
It's
I mean,
like, what do you...
shut the front door.
Shut the friggin' front door right there.
Best of
okay,
everything.
look, here's Jude Love. Thanks, Brett. I always chase the chord around and end up arpeggiating the chord. Besides bending, what else can I do to sound more melodic? Should dwell on notes more. Anything else?
So arpeggio is a good way to start doing. You know, one of my favorite players that really does as well is Neil Sean, who, if you want to learn like blues rock guitar playing with feel.
And I'm sorry to interrupt you. It is a junior. How about that? I know crap about my own guitars.
I don't either.
It's a junior,
Specials,
not a special.
juniors, they're all
Yeah,
special.
They're special to me. That's what I meant. Sorry. Go ahead.
So here's the arpeggio. If you just design maybe and take the blues licks that you already have, but come back to this as your home. And just make sure you're coming back. You know, you don't have to. Arpeggios can sound great though, like.
Yeah.
You know, they can have a really cool feel. But I like, you know, in the beginning, when I started figuring all this stuff out too, it was just taking that one shape. And I said, okay, here's the arpeggio here, and then here's the arpeggio there. So what if I just connect those two together? It's the really interesting thing, because you can play the exact same notes, but when you move, it sounds like you're doing something totally
100%.
different. So,
and you can play the same exact notes in the arpeggio like Jude's talking about, where he's
Yep.
you know, playing this using the SRV example, right? You're doing like,
yeah,
right?
which is legit. Yeah.
You could also play them like,
Yep. Exactly.
so he's just playing a D minor, and if that's the chord that's being played,
Yeah.
But you can go, well, that sounds like an arpeggio. That's an arpeggio too, but I threw in one note and I bent another note.
So if I'm concentrating on like an A major, and I have, this is position 4, I have a D shape of an A chord there.
Yeah.
Position 2, I got the E shape. And then position 1, I have the A shape right. So I can take these arpeggios. I played all the
Beautiful.
same notes, right?
Beautiful,
All
yeah.
these same licks. The same notes, exact same things, but I just rearranged them in a different way.
Now that's if you, like, in my opinion, that's kind of the next level up. That's if you're trying to create your own sound. Difficult to do if you haven't learned the vocabulary of the ancestors, right?
Yeah.
The blues ancestors and the rock ancestors, like B.B. King and like literally just anybody from the past who's known as a great player. Because I compare it to this. I got a 3-year-old now, right? And
God,
like
3 already?
he's 3. Dude,
Crazy.
he's awesome. He's so ridiculous right now. But he repeats anything that I say, and he's never broke open a book, obviously. And so he's learning this through just sheer mimicking, and he just says the funniest things sometimes. But he's learning from a master, right?
That's right.
He's learning from somebody who speaks already. So if I always compare it to, hand a dictionary to a 3-year-old, and they're not, even though they have all the words there, they're not really going to be able to create phrases because they don't know they don't know the syntax, they don't know the order.
Yeah.
Now, give that dictionary to someone who's more mature, right? Brett has been playing for a while, and he learned all those licks as a kid, so it's going to make more sense now. But now he's sitting there with the dictionary. He's sitting there with the licks, and he's going, now, what happens if I do this and that? And then he's going to develop his own sound. But I know there's this tendency to want to just jump out of the gate and create your own sound, and it's lazy. Sorry, it's a lazy way to do things, and because you're trying to leapfrog something, you think that you're just going to literally invent some new music or something like that, and it's just not out there.
Yeah, everybody's taken from something.
Yeah,
and
if not, it's going to sound weird.
You got to learn the all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Now, when you start seeing chords everywhere, that's when it all makes sense. Like when I bend up, it's like, oh, right, that note's part of that A minor chord, or like what you said. Yeah. Then it's like, ding, then everything makes sense because now you have the lick vocabulary.
Indeed.
But then you can start to tweak it because you know why you're playing what you're playing, and why it works.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah,
beautiful. Love it, man.
One of the best ways I've found to learn to be a melodic guitar player is learn how to play rhythm like Hendrix, because he mixes chords and scales together. I mean, when you think about like.
Scoot you over a little bit there, King, so I can see exactly what you're doing.
That whole bit. Right?
Yeah.
It teaches you how to play out of the chord shapes, or little wing, any of those. You're playing out of those chords.
Yep.
And so it teaches you to start thinking about the proper use of where scales and chords fuse together, And to me, like learning, and then learning like how do you do that, like all those Hendrix licks. Like I saw it, but then it wasn't until I realized that, oh, right, that's position 3. And now it's like,
yeah. And if we go back just a little bit, the reason for that is the same reason why when two people have a conversation, it's good to continue to talk about the same subject, right? If we're talking about this and all of a sudden I start talking about cars, that would be weird. So the chords, right? The chords and the melodies work together.
Right.
And that's why it is that it's almost as if you're trying to impress somebody. You're trying to impress a girl or a guy or whatever. And you want to know what it is that they like so that you can say the right things. And if you're listening, it's all about listening. It's not about playing. It's about listening and understanding that other person. So in the same way when you're playing, it's about listening and understanding what's happening. Okay, the A chord's being played. Cool. So that's information. Then you can do something with that. But if you don't, if you're just noodling over the top, you're just talking over somebody. You're not
rambling.
And the hopes of you landing on the right subject and saying the right thing are just, there's a bazillion things to say. The chances are teensy. It's not going to happen, and it'll happen once. Teensy tiny. No, it's a junior, isn't it? Thank you, Ted, for correcting me. It is true. It's a junior. Why choose that guitar? It's my newest, and it's just super tasty.
Everybody should have a junior.
Yeah.
Everyone should have. If you want to play for real, everyone should have some sort of a Strat
Yeah.
and some sort of a Gibson. And then when you start recording, like those two sounds together, it's what you've heard your whole life. And it just is so, like, when I record jam tracks, I'll use a Les Paul and a Telecaster, and it's like, oh my, it's heaven. Yeah, because they complement each other in a perfect way.
Yeah. I always think when I'm recording, I try to take on a personality of different guitar players.
Yep.
So I'll think of someone who's really tight, and then maybe someone who's a little bit more loose with the playing or whatever. So it sounds a bigger sound as opposed to just a duped part, you know. Okay, let's see. My keeping time with others I find difficult as they seem to flow. Are there any tips that you can share for keeping in time with their flow? They tend to freestyle. Well,
practice with the drum track.
Yeah. Even more so than a metronome, because you got those subdivisions of the beat, and they sound
hi-hat.
much better. What would you consider to be an essential scale for immediate, somewhat newer to scales?
For intermediate?
Yeah. We're going to blaze
pentatonic.
through some of these. Yeah, pentatonic. Pentatonic for noodling, I say, and major for understanding music theory. Chris is saying, I've only been playing for a few months, but get overwhelmed on the practice. I love playing cowboy chords and some finger pickings, but I feel like I focus on too much at once. Any tips? Yes, don't focus on too much at once. Focus on one thing and just get really good at that one thing. And then when you're bored of it, then move to something else. But man, this is exactly what I was saying earlier. You can't, you know, when you're working out, there's 50 different stations at the gym. Well, you can't just go around to everything and hit them one time. You could the first day just so you kind of wear your muscles down, but eventually you need to start focusing on a specific group. Otherwise, you're not going to be hitting your limit. You're just going to be kind of meandering and just kind of, you know, taking too much time to get from one thing to the next. So it's all about focus. Brett, this is for you. I loved your video on fitting the chords inside the scales, and it made me so much sense to me. My knowledge of the fretboard has improved a lot, but I still go blank sometimes when trying to improvise on a jam track. I'm not sure if I need to learn more music theory or licks. Can you share some blues licks that could help open up more ideas? And if you feel like some of these have been repeat, just, you know.
I don't know any music theory, so while I, you know, wouldn't say don't worry about music theory, because it can be very beneficial, and I know players that are very good with theory, and it's amazing. But you know, I worked with some of the best guitar players on the planet, and I can count on my hands how many know theory really well. It's you know what a lot of them have done is they've learned a bajillion songs.
A bajillion songs.
Yeah,
and
like a lot of the like the session guys and stuff. You can say play like Slash, play like this, play like that, and they have a lick. Like they've learned that style, you know. And so learning, you know, that's one of my when I was at MI for like 3 months, my country guitar player guy that was my teacher, his name's Vibrato, incredible guitar player, but he said just learn as many songs as you can, because that's real world, you know. And then you'll start to see what they did to fit over chord changes, and so it gets your point of like licks. It'll show you the proper way to use licks over a particular chord progression. And then what I would do is just take that same chord progression. You know, we all have phones or whatever, some way to record the same progression, and then take their licks and then try to, you know, modify it just a little bit, you know, fuse, you know, change a note or two, but base it around what they've done, you know, and then just tweak it a little bit. And then suddenly, you know, those very simple steps over the course of, you know, 6 months becomes a much larger vocabulary that it's easier to be fluent, you know what I mean, or to create flowing licks, you know.
Now I know there's a lot of folks out there saying, "Oh, look, Eric, Papa does not know theory." But remember what I said, because I posted something recently. I said any great guitar player knows music theory, and they said, "Well, blank 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 said he didn't know music theory, didn't know music theory." But here's the deal: it's like just like my kid knows how to speak, okay. the only way he would know how to speak is if he was following patterns. So when Brett says he doesn't know theory, what he means is you're saying you don't know deep theory. Right?
No, I don't.
But you know shapes and chords.
I know
and
the sounds,
scales, and
So if somebody's like,
you can know how to match the two.
Yeah,
and that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, I could hear Dorian or Phrygian, or I might not know what the scale is called.
Right.
But within a minute, I can figure out the scale to play with because it's all the same shapes.
Right. Exactly.
You know what I mean? And so, inadvertently, I know theory because I can see chords all over the neck. Right. And that teaches you. You know, if you pay attention to the chords is everything. If you pay attention to the chords that you're playing over and how those fit, you got to know the key, right?
Yes.
For sure, know how to find the key that you're in, know what the 7 chords are of that key, and then start to see, well, okay, are some of these chords not in a typical progression?
Right.
And then, okay, so here's I know I'm in A minor, but God, suddenly this isn't in A minor.
Right.
There's that sound in there, but, and then, that's interesting. I can tell that the home bass is A minor, but what's this D chord doing? Oh, okay. That it's starting to sound, now I'm like, oh, well, I know it's Dorian now.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that forever until somebody's like, oh, you're playing Dorian. I'm like, oh, am I?
Yes, right.
But I learned the major scale, which is the framework of all the other scales, unless you're talking like, harmonic minor or some exotic scale. Once you learn those 7 patterns of the major scale and you learn the 5 patterns of the pentatonic, you've essentially learned everything.
Yeah.
And everything is just a modification and a tweaking of those scale shapes.
Yeah.
And then again, I keep going back to chords. That's everything. But when you start to become a good composer, theory is going to give you a lot of options you would never have thought about. Like listen to Beach Boys or Beatles or any of these bands, and they make choices that you would never think about unless you can tell that who they were working with were very schooled musicians, jazz players, because their chord harmonies and the things that they put together, it's like, how did you even go there? And it's because somebody who was really good and really knew their stuff was helping them,
So the first 3 years of college I went to classical. I was a classical guitar major, and so I changed my major, but I had all the music classes, and I had the coolest theory teacher, and he would play something, and he'd go, okay, this is known as a Neapolitan chord, whatever, just crazy stuff, and he'd play it, and I'd be like, oh, and it would catch my ear right away, and then I would learn, okay, well, what is that? What are you doing? Okay, well, I'm playing well, I won't even go into. Well, it's like when it's like if you're playing in a minor.
Now.
It's like if you're playing in a minor key, and you've got these sounds, and then you do like a.
Oh yeah.
And so it's like a flat 1 major chord, and then it goes to a 5/7.
Yeah.
But anyhow, all that to say, the point here is that you'd hear something. And then you'd go, well, how do I recreate that? This is where theory comes in really handy, is because you can figure out how to recreate it. It's like a chemistry set. And so you may not always use it all the time. And if you think, whoa, gosh, I don't want to be so mechanical, it's like you don't have to. But if you're like, man, I really want to do something different here, then you can always go into your bag of tricks and see, now how did I get that sound before?
Yeah.
Otherwise, you might have a hard time recreating something that you've done before,
Yeah, and as you dive, I would definitely recommend learning theory at some point, but get your pentatonic scale down, learn how to see your chords all over the neck first.
Yes.
Then go into the theory mode, because as a lead player, chord playing and composing is a completely different conversation.
Right.
But it'll show you how to play that lick properly, because like I said, all the shapes are the same, so your default is going to be able to play that same scale all over the place. Like this, this scale right here, if I played it there, it's like A mixolydian, but if I did it here, same scale. it's A minor.
Right.
Right? Now, if I just think from the shape, I'm going to play it the same way. When somebody's going to be like, okay, now play that same scale, and I'm going to find myself doing the same thing. It's only when you have the context of the chords underneath your fingers that you'll start to play to like that Lydian sound or that Dorian sound or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that's theory is important. And you know, all of us will say, well, you know, or a lot of us say, we don't know theory, but, you know, in reality, we do. We've been around the block.
Some sort of patterns.
Yeah, we just call it something different.
Yeah, I think that some people think that, like, literally, you're just randomly, you know, even improvisation it's improvisation, but it's same thing with comedy improvisation. It's not like those jokes have ever been not said before. They've been said before. So it's like every lick that Stevie Ray Vaughan played, he played once before at least.
Yeah.
It's just that
or 1,000 times.
It's just he's stringing them together now, and he is in some ways just kind of stream of consciousness. But
but
don't kid yourself, they've definitely been played.
But when you go back and listen to and hear what his influences were, like the Albert King, the Freddie Kings, and all these other players, you can hear like, oh, that's or Hendrix. You know, you can hear that influence in his playing. You know what I mean? And so learning those licks, you can tell he spent thousands of hours learning their songs and then just tweaking with it. You know, like I said, you take that, you know, it's like an omelet, right? You got to have eggs, you got to crack them, you got to scramble them. Yeah. But then now there's the 1,000 different ways to make an omelet. You know what I mean? But those root elements are essential in it, you know? Indeed.
All right, let's jump over to how you doing on time? You cool?
Yeah.
All right, you're here.
This is where I want to be.
All right, so let's get to some questions here on YouTube.
Go back down a little bit. Somebody made a really good point about the theory and being able to communicate with other musicians. That is for sure. That is a real. That is huge because I found myself in situations with schooled musicians like how to count a song in the right way or that's a 2-5-1 and I'm like I have to think about it where that application of theory the ability to really communicate well with other musicians huge.
Here in Nashville you can't not you've got to know all that stuff. Indeed. Good. Okay. All right, and I'm only looking for those that have a question mark because obviously there's a lot of comments here, okay? What are some songs, artists, besides the Allman Brothers, that use major blues chords mixed with the minor? Well, it's not the major blues chords that we're talking about. It's major blues scales and playing and that sort of thing because almost every song has a major chord in it. Yeah.
But I mean, there's great Pink Floyd songs that have major guitar playing in it. You know, it's all over the place. It's when you hear a song that sounds like it's a happy song, chances are it's major. You know.
And Mary Beth, just a basic 12-bar blues, what we were using just now. Everybody associates, or so many people, I should say, rock players associate the minor blues with that. But in reality, it's 3 major chords. So there's no reason that you literally couldn't use the major scale over it. It's not going to sound good if you just are, wanking away through the major scale. I said wanking away. It's not going to sound good if you're doing that. We're looking for licks that follow those chords, right? But the 12-bar blues is a major chord progression. Yeah. And so that's why major blues should work over it. And that's why it does work over it. Oh, look. Gary donated $2. Thank you, Gary. And by the way, I'm going to look through here real quick just to make sure there's no other donations. We have $2 for the lunch fund today.
Sweet.
$2, and that's you, me, and the boys.
Nice.
So there you go.
We each get 4 fries.
We each get 4 fries. All right, let's get to some questions. So by the way, thank you so much, Gary. Brett, you need to be here more. Thank you, Eric. And Brett will be here again tomorrow, okay?
Sweet.
We're going to keep going. We're going to go, I'm saying another half hour. You cool? You down with that? We'll get to some more questions, okay?
I'm moving here too, so.
That's right.
We'll be seeing more of each other.
That's right. Oh, by the way, we're talking about doing a meetup. Maybe like at Groon or something like that. Would you want to be part of that?
Heck yeah.
Okay. All right. Maybe we can do that while you're here. We'll have to see if you got the time.
Make time for you, brother.
Enjoying Brett's perspective. How long have you been playing, Brett, and how did you meet the Sage?
Okay, so playing since I was 12, so like 4,000 years. But off and on. The first 3 years were very focused. Then, other things come into play, life, girlfriends, blah, 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 so I didn't play as much. But if you really condensed all the time and said, like, I've been playing, 5 hours a day for blank, it would probably be about 10 years. Even though I've been playing for probably 30, I've just, in the last, since I've started teaching again, on YouTube, which is like 2010 or something like that, playing more.
Yeah.
And more consistently.
Yeah.
So,
beautiful.
Lots of breaks in there.
And we met each other because I was watching one of Brett's videos because I was learning how to play the guitar. And I needed to... No, seriously, you were teaching something, maybe some sort of Hendrix perspective or something like that. And I was like, dude, that makes sense. And, of course, just loved his personality right away. And I hit him up and I was like, dude, love your stuff. And it was a bromance immediately.
Yeah, it was a bromance. It's true. We go trampoline parking together, all sorts of stuff.
We jump on trampolines and drink beers.
And we also knew, we had a mutual friend too, Marty Schwartz.
Yes.
And so I knew of Eric through Marty too.
Can I start learning exotic scales before I get the basic scales down? No. You could, but why are you doing that?
It's like, can I high jump before I
low jump?
Run? Huh?
Can I high jump before I low jump?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
No. Okay. We're going up. You see a question mark here. Stop me, man. Are you much of a jazz player?
I couldn't play jazz. I like it.
Yeah.
But like Wes Montgomery, stuff like that, ridiculous.
So much information, so confused. I know. Well, this
Watch
is
it
why.
again.
Yeah, this is, and this is also, Lauren. Yeah, we're talking about stuff that's a little bit higher level today, but it is all stepwise. And if you're confused, it's just because there's some steps that you're missing. That's the only thing. It's not because you're a freak or not cut out for guitar. Because there's guitar players that would walk in here and talk about stuff. We'd be like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Because, so it's just levels, and you just have to learn stuff in order.
The vibrato question, I'll take that one if you...
Where's it? Yeah.
So someone's asking, where was it? I saw it. Nora, how do I perfect my vibrato? So one of the things I see when people start playing is they try to do vibrato like this with their fingers.
Ah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I found that if you keep your fingers stiff,
yep,
and your thumb becomes a pivot point, and you got to make sure that your wrist isn't back like this, right?
Yeah.
So that your palm isn't against the back of the neck. You want to create space. So you take this and you shift. So now there's a big space in between my palm and the neck. And I'm keeping my fingers stiff. I'm not doing this, right? And then my thumb becomes a pivot point. And so what you do is you start rocking your whole wrist, keeping your fingers stiff.
And literally, when I'm looking at Brett's wrist back here, it's doing this.
It does.
Behind,
it's this motion.
So like, yeah. Go ahead.
So and then when you, it's way easier to get a very smooth vibrato. If I tried to do that with just my fingers, it's more
Sounds
wanky
weird,
sounding. Yeah, right. So, like, look at my wrist, how it's rocking. So there's that, and then on a stationary note, you can free your hand, right? And you can, sometimes on the, if it's like the middle strings, like the A, D, and G, you can pull down and let the momentum of the guitar, literally pulling down, be a natural kind of, it naturally creates vibrato.
I love it.
The tricky part is when you start doing chords. People like, there's ways to do it, but I would just say start with this motion and keep your fingers stiff and rocking the wrist.
Yeah,
for sure.
Beautiful. So one of us looks like Hetfield. Do you ever get that?
What?
Hetfield? That you look like Hetfield? Do you get that on your
No.
videos?
I get that
all day long.
It's the new
Hetfield,
Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds,
I get
Paul Rudd.
I've gotten the Paul Rudd, and I've gotten Matthew McConaughey when I used to have my stash from Dazed and Confused. I've gotten the Maroon 5 guy. What's that guy's name? My hair's a little short.
Yeah, sure.
And who else? Ben Stiller. I used to get the Ben Stiller all the time.
Stiller, really?
Yeah. I think it's just whenever my facial hair changes.
Yeah. Does the cage system help with capo placement? I think it does.
Yeah.
I think you see the shapes across the fretboard.
I mean, your first finger in the cage system essentially becomes a moving capo.
Yeah. I mean, I think it does indeed. All right.
Improvising and chord melodies.
Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting question. So, say if you had like an A, F sharp minor, D. Look at, like a... that sort of thing. Look at the notes and the chords around what you're playing. And notice, take 4 frets and really try to pay attention to commonalities between the different chord shapes. And then start playing around with those.
Brett has a bunch of really cool stuff on his channel in regards to doing this, so make sure that you check out his channel.
$20.
$20, Brent.
Holy, Brent, I love you.
Brent, thank you, buddy. Now we shall all eat fries. We all have our own fries, and maybe even
yes,
maybe even a Coke.
Brent,
I don't drink Coke anymore. I don't eat fries anymore. You know what I had for breakfast this morning?
What?
I crap you not. I had a salad. And a green drink.
That's because that's why you look so freaking good.
That's how weird I've gotten.
No, it's good. It's not weird because that's what you would have eaten back in the caveman
That's
days.
Right. And some berries.
Okay, and so this is, some people might disagree with this, but I would say
this is from Brent too. Brent Boardman. He just donated $20, and he says if you're focused on playing classic rock, should you also learn some country licks?
Yes, and I would say one of the best ways to do that, like the music or not, check out modern country, because they fuse classic rock. Modern country is classic rock with a southern singer.
Yep.
And so you're going to learn all that stuff we've been talking about, putting the scales, different scales, Mixolydian, Dorian. You're going to learn all these things through modern country guitar players. Nashville has some of the great, it is per capita, the best level of guitar playing you'll find anywhere on the planet.
Yep.
And these guys are all incredible players, and they make this theory and all these things, major, minor, they make it sound like music, and they do it really good, and it's not, it's at a definite intermediate level. There's not many modern country songs that somebody at a, coming out of beginner, basic, intermediate level couldn't do with a little work.
Yeah.
But it'll really show you how to play over the chord changes, because they don't like people to overplay in this town.
Nope.
So everything's very just enough.
Right on top of the chords, staying out of the way. Yes.
Modern country for sure. And old school country licks too. I mean, they're great. So all those guys know those licks as well.
Joel's asking, what happened to the Q&A? Joel, that would have been a great time to ask a question right there. All right. Now I'm joshing with you, buddy. Okay. Oh, yeah. Where is your thumb position when playing bar chords? Is it the middle or back or lower on back of the neck?
I do a lot of my chords Hendrixy now, like this kind of version, because it frees up your fingers to do other stuff.
Yeah.
But, right about there, kind of middle-ish.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the lower it is on the back of the neck, the more, I could say, slack you have to bring that hand out front. And then there's obviously, if you're playing a lot of them, there's a comfortable spot.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's like I always say, I will teach beginners all the time, never put your thumb over the top of the neck. Yet, if you watch us play, our thumbs are almost never not over the top of the neck, because the rules change as you learn what it is that you can do. But if you're doing this right out of the gate, your chords are going to sound like poo, and you're never going to wonder why.
Limit yourself so much with that.
Yeah, so drop that thumb.
Yeah, my first guitar teacher was very classically minded, and he always made it like make like a C shape. Yep. You want to be on the tips of your fingers and that thumb in the middle of the back of the neck. But as you progress in playing and hanging out with the session guys too, I noticed that those guys barely play full chords, and they almost never use bar chords, because when you get into a band, you got a bass player, you got another guitar player, and so you start almost becoming way more fragmented in your
100%.
Yeah, like you'll do that instead of, because that takes up so much space in a song that you'll see guys just doing
think
little
about
stabs
an
and
orchestra.
stuff like that.
You've got the double basses, and you've got all the different the frequency ranges up to like piccolo, piccolo flutes or whatever,
Piccolo Pete,
and it's like if everybody was playing the same part at the same time, it would just be obnoxious. I mean, obviously there's a moment for that, but that's why you have all those different frequencies, and that's something that you learn as you're playing. Mike Dupay with $20.
Thank you.
Nice. This is legitimate lunch.
Yeah,
now.
this is real deal.
Legitimate lunch. Thank you,
Something
Mike.
that everybody should check out, which blew my mind on the plane. I watched this movie called Score, and it was all about modern film composers.
Yeah.
And it was ridiculous.
Is this on Netflix?
You could probably find it on Amazon or Netflix or something like that. But man, like, talk about inspiring, and and listening to these people that really you take for granted. You watch Star Wars. I mean, without that John Williams score, Star Wars would not be Star Wars, or Indiana Jones, or Superman, or any of those things that he's done, or the Hans Zimmer Pirates of the Caribbean. All these, and it's just listening to all these really good composers, and they were composing for these huge orchestras, and it's like that is a perfect example of what theory can be. Yeah. That people can really learn to get to that level. And that's like, it was legit. I highly recommend, if you like music, and music's, obviously we're all here, we love music. Everybody watch that. It's
Score?
An incredible movie.
Called Score?
Yeah, it's called Score.
Beautiful.
Ridiculous. I was just like, my mouth was just wide open.
Oh, I know. And it's like the different types of musicians there are in the world. It's like I say, we kind of mentioned it a moment ago, but you took Stevie Ray Vaughan, or take the best guitar player who you think. If you think that's Slash, then I'm sorry for you. But if you take the best guitar, whoever you think is the best guitar player in the world. I just lost 10 subscribers. I can feel it. I love Slash too. I'm just joshing, because some guitar players, they rise up to the top.
I hated him when I was a kid. Yeah. So. It's been a process.
But if you took the best of whoever you think is the best, you dropped them in a Nashville studio here, and they're cutting a song, and you took a guitar player who you've never heard of before, who's normally playing that session, they're gonna fall apart. Yeah. They're gonna absolutely fall apart, because it's just not gonna sound right. Yeah. So there's a place for everybody. In music, and a studio musician's different than just a guy who plays blues in a bar. It's not saying better or worse. It's just different. And so that's a good thing to realize. Yeah,
and it was interesting as musicians like Danny Elfman, who's created a bunch of amazing scores. They were talking about, or Trent Reznor too. I did not know this, but the Facebook movie that came out. Reznor did that score.
That's right.
And so you think of like Nine Inch Nails, like that's weird. But then they took his influence and how he thought about music, and they fused it with the other composer guy, and the dark kind of they shot it in that certain way, and then it started to all kind of make sense. Like he was really good at creating that tension, or Danny Elfman's music, like Oingo Boingo and stuff, and listening to him talk about how they had to completely change their thinking once they see a screen, and it's like you're suddenly having, it's like what you're saying, these guys are all like, the movie's done. Right. Everything's waiting on me. Yeah. And the pressure is insane. And some of these movies are like $400 million movies, and it's like, dude, this is done in 3 weeks. Like, where's the score? Yeah. And it's in that position where these guys are like literally blank canvas. Like, how am I going to do this? Whoa. And then they just create these insane magical moments. But like they're using the inspiration of how it was shot, and and trying to get the director's vision. Like, how's this? This guy's thinking these things and telling me things. How am I going to be able to create what he's hearing in his head without knowing what's in his head?
Yeah, yeah.
And so it's an incredible.
It's
an incredible movie. It's really good.
Wicked cool. I'm gonna have to check that out. Okay, all right. Here we go. On YouTube still. And I tell you what, I'm gonna go zing all the way to the bottom here. We got Mike. All right.
Oh, is this like the new dark YouTube?
Or
is it?
I set all my stuff on dark. I'm a dark dude.
You're so mysterious. Oh, Bohemian Rhapsody is great. I watched that on a plane too.
Did you watch that? Did I send you that link of Yngwie and all those guys playing Bohemian Rhapsody?
No.
It's like Steve
Oh,
Vai.
yes, you did. Yeah, you did.
Oh, my God. You guys look this up online. Bohemian Rhapsody, Steve Vai. You'll find it. It's like Steve Vai, Yngwie Malmsteen, Nuno Bettencourt, Zach Wilde.
Love me some Nuno. What? We got another 20 and 5.
What?
Come on.
Come on. Love it. Thanks,
You guys
guys.
rule.
Beautiful. The Tasman, 63. Thanks for sharing. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate that. Okay, I just saw another question here. You guys want me to donate $200? Yeah. We'll lift the glass up to you, Brandon, in your name, buddy. Okay, do either of you play bass at all? I recently started, and I feel like it helps me get a deeper understanding of chords, arpeggios, and melody with my guitar playing. Yeah.
I'm not good at it, but it absolutely does do that.
Yep.
Learn as many instruments as you can.
Yeah, and bass is obviously, on guitar, it's the same note. So if you just take the bottom 4 strings, drop them down an octave, that's the bass guitar. So if you're playing a low E on the bass and your guitar player's playing a low E, it's going to sound good. When you play an A on the A string on the bass, it's going to be an A on the guitar. It's just down an octave, right? So it's got that nice big boom sound. And yeah, by all means.
Well, and it's all about timing and playing with the drummer and knowing when not to play. And it teaches you so much about rhythm. Mm-hmm. Drums, too. If you guys can play drums, for sure.
Yes.
It's true.
Okay.
Most cavemen.
Electric or acoustic to start off with. What say you?
I started on electric.
You started on electric. Go you.
Yeah, and it wasn't until.
What'd you have? What was your first guitar?
It was a Schaefer, like the biggest piece of junk of all time. Schaefer. Like pianos.
Yeah.
It was like a $60, like fell apart. I was so disheartened because I took it and my guitar teacher was like, "This is the biggest piece of junk." Like
he said it?
He just heckled on it.
No, how old were you?
I was like 11.
Oh, and you can't say that to a kid.
And then I did well, it was cool because it put the fire in me to like, no, I need a real guitar.
Okay.
So then I got an Araya. And then I stepped up to like the Ibanez like 560 and I was just like,
what did you have, a Roadstar?
It was an RG 550 maybe. There's like humbucker single.
Oh, okay.
Like when they first went to that new shape and back in Nam.
Right, back in Nam.
Yeah. But yeah. You could be like cat fights.
Yeah. And as far as my choice, I'd say start with an acoustic only because it really forces you to just focus on the guitar, okay? But that's just my opinion. Again, there is no right. There's just they're just opinions for the most part. But the reason being is that you got pedals, you got amps, you got knobs, all sorts of bits, and most people get confused of that. I mean, one of my students in my program this morning was messaging me, and he's like, I've had this Les Paul now for a year or something like that, and I still haven't figured out these four switch knobs.
Yeah,
and I'm like, okay, well, you know what I mean? So some folks do have difficulty with that. So if you start with the acoustic, it's just you and the acoustic.
Yeah, there's no height.
You gotta learn.
Yeah.
Gotta learn something. It does not allow you to just get some feedback and sound cool for a second, So, Your Guitar Stage. Love the lesson with Corey. Can you play some Diminished Runs? Oh, okay. So he's probably talking about you.
Me.
Did you do something about some Diminished Runs with Corey?
Yeah, with Corey. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So diminished stuff is fairly easy to come up with because basically you're skipping notes. You're skipping. If you have, let's say, a G, then if you go up 3 half steps, 1, 2, 3, you've got another note in the diminished scale. Or this is one way to play diminished. Go up another 3. Yeah. So literally, you can come up with little licks that are just that. Or, sounds terrible. There's.
Yeah.
You know.
Look at you. Dude, get your Crossroads lick in there.
Is that in Crossroads?
Yeah.
But so nonetheless, if you're trying to come up with diminished stuff, you just literally take a note, go 3 half steps up from it, 3 half steps up from that, and so on and so on. It's like a cycle. And you can come up with all sorts of diminished stuff. It's super fun. Someone who does that really well is Yngwie Malmsteen.
Oh, master.
How Andrew's saying, how should I know, aside from the basic chords, to start basic songwriting? What should I know, aside from basic chords, to start basic songwriting? You want to take it?
Honestly, that's all you really need. To be honest, I mean, listen to 90% of the songs you've heard throughout history, whether it's Neil Young, Tom Petty, classic rock especially, Bob Dylan. It's all basic chords. You
do need to know what chords work together.
Right? It's taking those basic chords and tweaking with them a little bit, like in the Tom Petty, it's the hammer on.
Yeah.
So that you can start doing little things like that. Or, like if it's like a F, C, G chord progression, maybe change some of the notes. So instead of doing a typical F, maybe, put an open string in there and take off this finger. So now you get...
Yeah.
So I love this one. This one's like taking a G chord and then putting like a C chord in there because they share basically all the same notes.
Yeah.
But, that's just F, C, G. And you're just tweaking it. Right? And so suddenly a very simple chord progression, just because you subtracted notes, put open strings in there or whatever, sounds unique.
Yeah.
And start with that. I mean, and get fairly proficient in doing stuff like that, and then just progress. Start with 3 chords and then add a 4th.
And Andrew, what I would say is, not just knowing the basic chords. So what I call the 9 essential chords, which are all those open chords: G, C, D, A, B, or G, C, D, D minor, E minor, A minor, B7. Those basic chords, but also knowing what chords work together well, and that's something that takes a minute to learn. But essentially, if you know your major scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, right? The chords are, and you can rewind this video, of course. The chords in a major key would be major, minor, minor, major. Sorry, major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished,
which is typically
major.
Yeah, major.
And so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. And literally the 1, 4, 5, minor 6, if you just knew that for the rest of your life and you just wrote songs with that, you literally would be using the chord progression that's almost like everything. 95% of like every hit song that's ever been written.
Just Google or look up popular chord progressions. Yeah. And learn those chords.
Yeah. But knowing what chords work together is really important. Very, very important. You gotta have that, Robert's saying, how do you donate to the lunch pot? Okay, so in the bottom left-hand part of the screen, and for some reason now, I'm not seeing it. Oh, okay, yeah, I think there's a way to do it. I'm not signed in, obviously, but in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, you're gonna see like a little smiley face. This is on YouTube, obviously, and there's like a little dollar thing, and if you click that, you can donate to the lunch fund. And there's 4 of us today, so we're hey, $24.99. What who did that? Brian Copeland. Oh, look at this guy, man. Thank you, Brian. We got legitimate lunch today
For sure.
Let's get some Mexican, right?
I love that song.
You guys,
Such a good tune.
which one? You guys rock
1983. You know, if you like that kind of Hendrix,
go ahead and read that one too.
it says, you guys rock, so go get an awesome lunch today. Thanks for everything you guys are doing to help me enjoy guitar again. Your buddy helped me learn 1983, A Merman I Should Be. It's a Hendrix tune, and it's amazing. But there's a guy on YouTube, and just tell him I sent you, because I love his channel. It's called The Vibratory.
Okay.
And he doesn't teach, but he plays Hendrix so good.
Really?
And one of the songs that I taught, was it that one or New Rising Sun, or one of those? Like, I was trying to figure it out forever, and then I saw him, and it was like, most accurate Hendrix, and I was like, okay, I got to check this out. And he makes pedals, and like, he is fully into Hendrix, and like his channel, the rhythm stuff is just
And what's it called?
awesome.
Vibratory?
Vibratory.
Vibratory.
I think.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a European cat, and he's just
There's so
got
much good
Hendrix
stuff out there.
nailed. Like, so
These
good.
kids now, with what they have available to them. Friends, we're going to get to like 3 more questions, but really quickly. Giving this away with a lifetime membership to the Unstoppable Guitar System.
Did you get a book?
I got a book.
Dude, you're legit.
Yeah, kind of. Not really.
Nashville bestseller?
Nashville bestseller. Franklin, Tennessee,
Yeah, that's
my
right.
neighborhood bestseller.
That's right.
But this is going to go, I'm going to send that out to whoever wins the lifetime membership to the Unstoppable Guitar System /365. How do you win it? You go to my Instagram, and 2 things you got to do. Number 1, you got to be following. And number 2, did I say number 2 to start off? No. Number 1, you've got to be following. Number 2, you got to leave a comment on that sucker. Okay? Boom. It's right over there. Tomorrow, we're going to have another post. You have 2 chances to win. Leave a comment on that one, too. You got to be following in order to win. And then what we do is we're going to pick a winner after tomorrow, after tomorrow's broadcast, okay? And we'll announce it in Instagram stories. Okay? Did you get all that? If you didn't, you can rewind this. It's the power of YouTube. You can do this now. So we're going to go for 3 more questions. This is your opportunity to pick Brett Papa's brain here. He will be back tomorrow. So we're going to do this again tomorrow. And this time we're going to have the jam track on and our guitars on so you actually can hear us. So we'll do that. And and we'll be back tomorrow. And I forgot what it is we're going to be talking about. Oh, what got me into guitar? So be thinking about that. What got you into guitar? I know the answer.
I know the answer to me, too.
I know your answer.
Oh, yeah.
I think I know your answer. So that's what
Sitting
to
right
do.
over there in the corner.
I know it is. So, Brian, thank you so much for that. That is legit, and we definitely are going to get lunch today. So, for everybody who donated today, thank you so much. I know some of you couldn't, but for those of you that did, thank you so much. And great questions today. We're going to take like 2 more questions. We're going to go actually till 12:30, and there you go. Okay, and we're going to pop back over really quickly. Real quick to no, we're gonna stay here. We're gonna stay here on YouTube. We're gonna stay here on YouTube. Oh yeah, dude, that's a little hint right there. That tone, dude. Remind you of Hendrix.
The aux
yeah
has so
he's talking about the
Universal Audio aux.
Universal Audio aux. By the way, this is Brett's new
best guitar
favorite toy.
invention of all time.
Did you bring it?
It's not cheap,
Did
but
you bring one?
so worth it. I didn't.
Okay.
I need to start.
Yeah.
But anyways. Yeah. So not only is it the coolest invention ever, you can take a loud amp, scale it way down. You can have a direct line out. You can plug your 100-watt head straight into your computer. on and on and on.
Yeah.
But it comes with an app. And in the app, the Santiago, the guy who made it,
Yeah.
literally can nail any guitar tone ever. Like, he is the man. Like, his nailing Eric Johnson's tone and, like, Hendrix and,
Wow.
you know, just all these U2, like, killer tones. But
Yes.
he went through and he put, like, 100 patches from famous songs.
Oh.
And so he dialed in the amp to the
Right.
studio, because it comes with reverb, compressor, EQ, delay, chorus. It comes with all that stuff in it.
Yeah.
Like, it's like a studio inside that, you know, so you can really
And
manipulate.
you plug it into any amp, basically.
Yeah, you can plug it into any amp. So, like, at home, you know, I have the Friedman and the Divided by 13, and I've never had either of those amps above 2. And some of the fun of a head like that is when you get the power amp distortion.
Oh, yeah.
So I can literally go in, turn those amps on like 7, which I would never do.
Right.
And plug it straight into my computer and have it at, you know, a level to where my family can't even hear it. But the cool thing about it now, too, is it's almost made my pedal board obsolete, because the effects in it are so good. And it's set up like a real studio would be. So you get your direct dry guitar sound in it, and then the processing comes after that. So the way it sits.
Tasty.
Yeah. And so anyways, long story short, there is a Drop Dead Legs patch in it, and it freaking dead
Van Halen
ringers that sound. And there's a Bold as Love and a Wind Cries Mary, and I mean, it's so good.
Brett, any chance of you becoming a session player if you moved to Nashville?
Hell no. That's way out of my league. Those guys are so good.
The competition, man, yeah,
It's
a
fierce.
whole nother thing. It's like you're either teaching or you're playing.
Yeah.
It's just like you're either teaching or you're playing. This takes so much of my time. It's just maddening. It's good though. I love it. I love doing it.
I always say
But
this
it's
too,
a lot of
and
time.
we both have kind of confessed that we're not the world's greatest improvisers. We're more creators. And session guitar players are the world's greatest improvisers.
So good.
They're presented with a chord chart, and that's it 9 times out of 10. And what you're hearing on the radio is something those guys did in 2 or 3 takes.
Yeah.
Tops.
Yeah.
All together as a band, you
Yep.
know? And so their ability to not only come up with an amazing part with amazing sound on their pedal board,
Yeah.
played perfectly with these guys in a room, and
Who they may have never played with before, or it wouldn't matter if they did or didn't.
Yeah,
It's
they
just-
did or didn't.
just-
They all, and not only that, but like the pressure is on. Talk about pressure. Like, if you've ever even recorded something or put something out online or like playing live, it's like, by the way, this is for a huge album. We have, you know, today to get 5 songs done. 1, 2, 3, go.
Yeah.
And it's like you have to be at 110%
Yes.
every day of your life.
Yes.
And I'm not that dude.
No, I'm not either.
Yeah.
I'm not
I see a
either.
lot of really good guitar players that want to be session guitar players, and I don't think that it's a special breed.
Yeah.
You can have ridiculous technique and talent,
Yeah.
but it's a whole nother.
Yeah.
I said it. See, whole nother. It's a
Yeah.
whole different level
Yeah.
of
Indeed.
musicianship.
Indeed.
Yeah, and some of them, technically, you might not think that they're that great per se, or that it's anything incredible until you feel the simple part they've created in the pocket that they can feel that they put into it, and like it's just.
You know, I think about it. I think about it like those folks who are kind of wallflowers, and then they say something, or they like if you actually take a moment to listen to them, just wisdom just pours out of their mouth.
Totally.
It's like that.
Yeah.
As opposed to that person who's always out front and being real, blah, 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 and then they really aren't sayyou anything.
No.
That's how I think about a good session player, is that you typically won't even know them.
No.
You know,
you would
unless
never.
you follow that stuff, unless you know.
They typically don't look like guitar players.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Check out Tim Pierce if you guys are interested.
Dude, did you see the thing he just put up about the Emmys or the
Grammys?
The Grammys.
Yeah.
Did you see this?
Yeah, I was over at his house and
80
he's like, dude, I
songs?
have to learn 80 songs. I was like, bro.
Oh my god.
Perfect example though. He doesn't read music.
Yeah.
So he has to come up with his own charts.
yeah.
Yeah, and work that stuff up. And he's putting time into doing it, you know?
Oh yeah.
Because no pressure. Grammys.
No pressure. 80 songs
Yeah.
in like 3 or 4 hours or something.
Yeah.
Like they just, oh my god. Yeah. And that's And there's no do-overs.
No do-overs. And it
You
gets
get it
pumped
right, you
through a
better
huge
get it right.
auditorium, so you hit the wrong note and everyone's going to hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's beast mode.
Yeah,
Mega beast.
total
I
beast
literally
mode.
wrote that. I wrote, dude, beast
Yeah.
mode.
Yeah, for sure.
Freak.
No, he's ridiculous.
Yeah. My
Great
friends, dude, thank you for being here, bro.
Please,
You know I
honor's
love
mine.
you, man.
Please.
We're going to go get some tacos or something right now. Thank you to everyone who attended today. Thank you for Facebook folks and YouTube folks. Instagram folks are gone, but thank you so much for all that. We're going to be back here tomorrow. Papa's going to be here, so bring your questions. Get them ready. We're going to be talking about what got me into guitar, okay?
Mm-hmm.
We'll do a little jam again. We'll have some fun. But right now we're going to go eat. Do not forget to head over to my Instagram right now. A few things I want you to do. Head over to Instagram right now. Make sure you leave a comment, but also be following. It's the only way that you can win. It's like a $500-something value. It's literally both Unstoppable Guitar System and 365. We'll be giving that away. Yeah.
Dude.
I know. It's bonkers, man.
You're the man.
Oh, and we'll be sending this book out. Okay?
Uh-huh.
That book right there. I'll have Papa sign it,
If
too.
I don't take it first.
Yeah. And do not forget to go to Papa's channel, right? Brett Papa 102.
Papa
Stash 102.
Yeah, on YouTube. Yeah.
Papa Stash 102, and then brettpapa.com. So all the stuff that Brett was talking about, playing around the chords, the cage system, you know, how that the mindset of Hendrix and that sort of thing, that sort of playing, so good at, okay? So please make sure you check out his stuff because he's an absolute beast and he's a great teacher, swell guy, and the whole 9 yards.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, I'm serious, bro. All right, we're going to go eat. Thanks so much, my friends. We're out of here.